Howdy everyone! I'm Income, and welcome back to the channel. Before we get started today, I just want to give you a quick heads up. These are 7 scary videos that will haunt you tonight. So, if you're the kind of person who gets easily spooked, or if you have a hard time sleeping after watching something unsettling, you might want to click away now. But for the rest of you, the brave ones who enjoy a good scare, I invite you to turn down the lights, get comfortable, and, prepare yourselves. Because what you're about to see is not for the faint of heart. The internet is a vast and often strange place, a digital ocean filled with countless videos. Most are harmless: cat videos, cooking tutorials, dance challenges. But lurking in the darker corners of this digital world are clips that defy explanation. Moments captured on camera that seem to tear a hole in our reality. These videos capture things that shouldn't exist, things that whisper from the shadows and remind us that we might not be as alone as we think we are. We're going to be exploring some of the most chilling footage ever uploaded. Each of these 7 clips tells a story that is strange, dark, and mysterious. From a fleeting shadow in a quiet home to a horrifying face appearing where it shouldn't, these videos will make the hair on your arms stand up. They will make you question what you see and hear. So, if you think you're ready, let's dive into our first story. And a quick reminder, if you end up enjoying these stories, please be sure to give the like button a friendly tap. It really does help the channel out. Alright, let's get into it. Our first video comes from a man who had been living in his new apartment for just a few weeks. He'd been noticing little things, objects slightly out of place, a feeling of being watched, but he brushed it all off as his imagination running wild in an unfamiliar space. One night, however, he decided to set up a camera in his living room, pointing down the main hallway just to put his own mind at ease. He expected to record nothing more than hours of stillness, but what the camera captured was something that would turn his unease into pure cold terror. The footage starts with the mundane quiet of a home in the dead of night. The only light is a faint glow from the streetlights outside, casting long, deep shadows. For hours, nothing happens. The silence is profound, almost heavy. You can hear the low hum of the refrigerator, the occasional creak of the building settling. It's the kind of quiet that can make you feel utterly alone. Then, just after 3 a.m., something changes. From the deepest part of the shadow at the far end of the hall, a darker shape begins to form. It's not a trick of the light. It's a tall, slender silhouette, impossibly dark, that detaches itself from the surrounding blackness. It stands there for a long, agonizing moment, completely still, before it glides silently, unnaturally across the hallway and vanishes into the wall on the other side. There was no sound, no door opening, just a silent void where a person should be. Up next, we have a story that taps into a classic fear dolls. This video was uploaded by a woman who had received a vintage porcelain doll from an antique shop as a gift. She thought it was a charming, if slightly creepy, addition to her collection and placed it on a shelf in her bedroom. A few nights later, she was woken up by a faint sound. At first, she thought it was the wind or maybe the house settling. But as she lay there in the dark, listening intently, she realized the sound was coming from the direction of the doll. It was a soft, sibilant whispering. Terrified but also, morbidly curious, she grabbed her phone and started recording, her hand trembling as she aimed it at the doll. The video is grainy, shot in the low light of her bedroom. You can see the doll sitting perfectly still on the shelf, its painted eyes staring blankly into the room. At first, all you can hear is the woman's shaky breathing. Then the sound starts. It's faint, a series of soft, airy whispers that are just on the edge of intelligibility. It doesn't sound like a recording or any kind of mechanical malfunction. It sounds organic, like a real voice, but thin and ancient. The woman in the video lets out a small gasp, and the whispering stops abruptly. The silence that follows is somehow even more terrifying than the sound itself. leaving everyone who watches it wondering what secrets that porcelain shell was trying to share. For our third clip, we're heading deep into the woods. A group of friends decided to go camping in a forest known locally for strange occurrences and folklore about it being haunted. Being skeptics, they brought along a high-quality camera with night vision, hoping to debunk the myths or just maybe capture something extraordinary. They set up their camp and left the camera running on a tripod, pointing into the dense, dark woods that surrounded their tent. For the first few hours, the footage is exactly what you'd expect. Trees swaying gently in the wind, the occasional rustle of a small animal in the undergrowth. The sounds of the forest are peaceful, almost hypnotic. But then, the atmosphere shifts. A deep, guttural sound echoes from somewhere far off in the trees, a sound that doesn't belong to any known local animal. The friends in the tent can be heard stirring, whispering to each other about the noise. As they fall silent, the camera picks up movement. In the distance, between two large oak trees, something pale and thin darts with incredible speed from one tree to the other. It's a blur, too fast to be human, and it moves with a jerky, unnatural gait. A moment later, a blood-curdling scream rips through the night, sounding much closer this time. The video ends with the frantic sounds of the campers scrambling to get out of their tent and flee. Okay, so imagine you're home alone at night, just enjoying a quiet evening. You walk into your kitchen to get a glass of water, and as you pass the window overlooking your backyard, a flicker of movement catches your eye. That's actually the exact scenario that led to our fourth video. A homeowner, spooked by this brief glimpse of something outside, grabbed his phone and started filming the window, half expecting to see a raccoon or maybe a stray cat. He pans the camera across the dark glass, showing the faint reflection of his own kitchen. The backyard beyond is pitch black, basically just a wall of darkness. He mutters to himself that it was probably nothing, that his mind was probably just playing tricks on him. He's about to stop recording when it happens. For a split second, illuminated by some unknown faint light source, a face materializes on the other side of the glass. And it's not a reflection. It's pale, with these large dark eyes and a gaunt skeletal structure. The figure is looking directly into the camera, directly at him, with an expression that's just completely devoid of emotion. It's there for no more than a second or two before it vanishes back into the oppressive darkness of the yard. The homeowner lets out a choked cry and stumbles backward, dropping the phone. The footage spins wildly before cutting out, leaving the viewer with the horrifying after-image of that ghostly face pressed against the glass. Our fifth video is purely auditory, but it is no less terrifying. In fact, some might argue it's even more so, because it forces your own imagination to paint the picture. So, a college student living in a quiet suburban neighborhood was having trouble sleeping one night. Just after 2 a.m., he started hearing a bizarre noise coming from outside. It was faint at first, so he opened his window and began recording on his phone, hoping to identify the source. The video shows nothing but the dark, empty street, illuminated by a single, lonely streetlight. The only sound is the gentle chirping of crickets. Suddenly, a scream shatters the silence. It's not a scream of pain or fear from a person. It's a high-pitched, agonizing shriek that sounds both human and animal at the same time, distorted and otherworldly. It echoes through the neighborhood, and then, just as suddenly as it began, it's answered by another identical scream from a different direction, and then another, until the night air is filled with a chorus of these horrifying, unexplainable cries. They seem to come from all directions at once, a symphony of terror. The student filming can be heard whispering, "What is that?" over and over again, his voice trembling with fear. The screams continue for nearly a minute before fading away, leaving behind a chilling, profound silence. This next piece of footage is a slow burn, a masterclass in building suspense until it becomes almost unbearable. A family had been experiencing strange, minor paranormal activity in their home for months. Doors creaking open, whispers in empty rooms, objects moving on their own. Fed up and wanting proof, they set up a motion-activated camera in their dining room, which seemed to be a hotspot for the activity. The camera was aimed at the large wooden dining table and the chairs surrounding it. For several nights, the camera recorded nothing out of the ordinary. The family began to think that perhaps it had all been in their heads. Then, one night, the camera clicked on. The room is dark and still. Nothing seems out of place. But if you watch the chair at the head of the table very, very closely, you'll see it. It begins to move. It's not a sudden jerk or a violent shove. It's a slow, deliberate, and completely silent drag across the wooden floor. The chair scrapes backward away from the table inch by agonizing inch as if an invisible person is pulling it out to sit down. The movement is smooth and unnatural, completely violating the laws of physics. It moves about 2 feet before coming to a dead stop, sitting there in the middle of the room, waiting. The camera keeps rolling, capturing the empty, waiting chair in the oppressive silence. Our final video is perhaps the most personal and terrifying of them all, because it happens in a place where we feel our most vulnerable: the bathroom. A young woman was filming a makeup tutorial for her social media channel. The video is bright and cheerful. She's talking to her audience, explaining her technique, completely unaware of the horror that is about to unfold. She's standing in front of her bathroom mirror, and behind her, the door to her shower, which has a frosted glass panel, is visible. For most of the video, nothing is out of the ordinary. She applies her makeup, chats with her viewers, and everything seems perfectly normal. Then she leans closer to the mirror to work on her eyeliner, and her body shifts just enough to give the camera a clear view of the shower door behind her. And that's when you see it. For just a few frames, a dark shape presses against the inside of the frosted glass. It's the distinct silhouette of a human face, with 2 dark hollows for eyes and a gaping mouth, as if it's screaming silently. The woman is completely oblivious. She finishes her eyeliner, smiles at her reflection, and continues her tutorial. The face is gone as quickly as it appeared. It was only after she reviewed the footage later that she saw the terrifying guest who had been watching her from the shower the entire time. And there you have it. 7 videos that are guaranteed to stick with you long after the screen goes dark. From shadowy figures to impossible faces, these clips are a stark reminder that the world can be a much stranger and more frightening place than we often like to admit. They show us that sometimes, even with a camera rolling, the things we see are things we can never truly explain. It's easy to dismiss them as hoaxes or tricks of the light, but when you're home alone and the house starts making strange noises, that dismissal becomes a lot harder to hold on to. So tonight, when you're getting ready for bed, maybe you'll think twice before looking into a dark hallway. Maybe you'll glance over your shoulder when you pass by a mirror just to make sure you're really alone. These stories have a way of creeping into your mind and staying there, planting a little seed of doubt and fear. That's the power of the strange, dark, and mysterious. It changes the way you see the world, even if just for a little while. I want to hear from you all now. Have you ever captured something unexplainable on camera? Have you had an experience that still gives you chills? Share your stories in the comments below. Thank you all for joining me on this journey into the unsettling. If you made it this far, you're one of the brave ones. But I have to leave you with one final thought. Be careful tonight. You never know what might be watching you. If you enjoyed these stories and want more strange, dark, and mysterious content, please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you all in the next video. Stay safe out there.